and now we've got the book of Judges. And the book of Judges is one of those books that's got some real famous bits in the middle of it that I know that you will recognize too. And that just means that it's got some good bits in that you're going to want to listen to and you want to going to get to know about. So the author of Judges is maybe the prophet Samuel, but actually it's a bit unknown. Really, it was written in the time between Joshua and King Saul, between 1380 BC and 1050 BC-ish. It's a little bit unknown, and really it's all about the outworking of that book of Deuteronomy, but the people don't do it the way that God intended, so we need a judge to come in and help keep the people close to God. So the main overview of the book, well, chapter 2 tells you really what it's all about. If you read chapter 2, you'll get an insight into what Judges is all about. It tells you that it's basically Israel's repeated cycle that they went through 12 times with 12 different judges that are noticed in here. And pretty much it runs in this kind of an order. The people worship false gods. Then it all goes wrong for them. They get sold to another people. Then they cry to God for help. Then God raises up a judge amongst them. The judge brings salvation. The land has peace, it's at rest, and everything's good for a period of time. And then we repeat the cycle again. When they worship false gods, they get sold to another people. They cry to God for help. God raises up a judge amongst them. The judge brings salvation. Everything goes back to peace again and again and again and again. And Judges really is all about really flawed individuals who God used and answers the call, and then God does incredible things with them. And there's 12 judges in the book of Judges, from Othniel, Ehud, who's a left-handed hero for all those lefties out there, Pastor Steve. There's Shamgar, there's Deborah, who's really one of the main characters. She's a real Wonder Woman in there. There's Gideon, who's a very famous bit. He's a fearfully reluctant guy who he's a very unusual thing. Actually, he was clothed by the Spirit of the Lord. Then you've got Tola, Jair, Japheth, who's a main character as well, but he was a bit rash in making a big promise before God. There's Isban, there's Elon, there's Abdon, and there's Samson, who's another one of those main characters who's super strong, but tempted by a woman and gave up all of his vows one by one before God. Then the last 4 chapters are an overview about the moral climate during that time. Actually, it's kind of like that, the natural climate that we all live in. When we live on human Earth, and we live on planet Earth, then actually we end up in the same sort of system that all these guys were, that same cycle where things stop going wrong for us. Every time we don't keep God at the center, this is what happens. This is the climate that happens. This is the situation that happens. Really, the book of Judges is a bit like a love story in reverse. Instead of growing closer together, actually it's showing how the people that were close to God slowly grew further and further away from God. And really it showed what a leaderless, ruthless people, they just couldn't resist the sinful desire of what else was going on in the world and those around them. And there's a famous verse, and I'm going to use it in a minute, it kept saying, they did what was right in their own verse. So my key verse is from Judges chapter 17, verse 6. It's actually repeated a couple of times through the book, and it says, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. It's such a current verse for today. It's such a current verse actually for generations and generations. If you think that you're the first people who've ever decided, no, I know what's right because I've got this right, then you need to go all the way back to the Old Testament, because you'll find that people still didn't get it right, and God brought about a judge to help show them what it was. And actually it's so pertinent because we measure what we do based on other people's opinions, based on what's going on in the world, based on what we think maybe different parts of our religious experience, our Christian experience have told us. And actually we're doing what's right in our own eyes. We're doing what's right amongst our peers' eyes. We're doing what's right to get the affirmation of others. And we see somebody else doing something, it becomes familiar, it becomes regularized for us, it mellows our judgment in things, and we think, no, I'm doing it good because other people are doing it the same way as me. And actually, it's such a pertinent thing that everybody did what was right in their own eyes. But when they did that, it just brought them further and further away from God. Because actually, we don't need to be doing what's right in our own eyes. We need to be doing what's right in God's eyes. So now, actually, it's all about do it right. Keep doing it right, but don't do what's right in your own eyes. Don't do what's right by your own judgment. Do what's right before God. Do what's right before God when it comes to your job. Do what's right before God when it comes to your money. Do what's right before God when it comes to your relationships. Do what's right before God in your attitude. Do what's right before God in absolutely everything. Because actually, God wants you to keep doing it right and do it right before Him, not before others. Because one day we're all going to get judged, and we're going to get judged before God. And He's not going to say, well, I know your mates thought it was right, but actually this is what's between me and you now. So live it right before God. Live up to the Bible. God sent judges about in those days who helped people know what it was that needed to do. In your day, today, God's set good churches. He's set good leaders amongst you. He's set good people who can be there to help you. We've all got a copy or can get access to the Bible. And that's the best way, because that is God's rule book for life. So the real what now from Judges, just fall in love with God. Stay focused on Him. Don't do what's right in your own eyes. Do what's right before God all the way through. And that really is what Judges is all about.